Hey, my name is Matt. Here we are, the final episode of Season 2, Once Upon a Time. From Season 2 is over. I think the title Once Upon a Time is largely self-explanatory. We've all been exposed to it, so let's get right into it. On the production, From finished the season with the production value as high as if it started, if not better. We see more examples of how well the showrunners put the show together with little clues and subtle things and the way they stage certain scenes. Now, let's move into the review itself. Our first opening scene is Christy coming back to check on Julie, one of our 3 cicada victims from last episode. This leads to a conversation with Jade, to Boyd being inspired, heading off to talk with Sarah, right? So that little sequence sets stuff in motion. That's the short answer there. Then we switch over to another of our cicada victims. A team has gone to recover Randall's body, but they find him alive. We get a nice jump scare here, which is very well executed. This time with Julie and Marielle screaming at the same time, and then we roll our final rendition of the Pixies covering Que Sera Sera. I know it's too much to ask, probably because these showrunners do so much, but if they could have constantly updated and adjusted the image and opening theme, it would have been a great, really cool element. So after the theme, our first post-credit scene is Boyd walking with Kenny and Sarah towards the room of the tower he had emerged from at the beginning of the season. This whole episode is basically the showrunners put together many little disparate elements of been building, both for the major storylines and for the character arcs. Sarah can hear the music box when they get to the ruined clearing, but no one can see it, and as she listens closer, she can hear the 3 cicada victims screaming. We learn here that the creature in question is laughing at Boyd for setting it free, and that the creature needs the 3 suffering people for some reason. The last thing Sarah conveys is that Boyd needs to make the music stop, and this sets up plot line number 1. So it makes me wonder if the creatures themselves are trapped inside the bodies of the monsters. So we move back to the colony house where we see Tilly leading a prayer circle. This inspires Donna to have the guns locked and loaded in the shed. They're locked into the shed. And this sets up plot line number 2. And then we get what amounts to character development as various supporting characters fulfill their character journeys for the seasonal story arcs. The dead bartender in the conversation drops something very profound about the situation. For example, Jade says nothing about this town is natural, and the bartender replies, wrong, nothing about this town is familiar. In a nice reminder of how this show feels real time it isn't, we see Boyd pull the bandage off his hand, which still has not healed from the cut he used to pass his blood to the monster that he killed several episodes prior. And this is where the episode's plot and pacing begin to accelerate. So right after the scene where Boyd looks at the cut on his hand, Reggie goes nuts, essentially. Jade heads back to the underground cavern using a string as a guide. Boyd heads to the church and has an angry talk with God. And this is arguably the best scene in the entire series. Harold Perrineau nails it. Okay, I'll talk a little more about this again in a bit. Tabitha steps into a faraway tree that takes her to the tower she needs to go to in order to complete her test. Turns out this tower is a lighthouse. Okay? And the wedding of Fatima and Ellis inspires Boyd for the answer he needs to go on his quest. Of course, Reggie going crazy, and as I mentioned before, and trying to set out on a killing spree is Boyd's first roadblock, which he overcomes in a very Boyd fashion. But Boyd's hunch about lighting a torch in the rooms turns out to be correct, and he's back in the chamber. This leads to one of the most powerful moments in the show, which honestly could have been the best moment of the show, enough of that awesome scene before with Boyd angrily talking to God. I won't spoil that scene though. I mean, it's really good. Returning to the other major plotline, Tabitha climbs the tower, hearing the children whisper above. The little boy in white showed up, and well, I won't spoil what happens next either. But I will say I was not expecting what happened, and I'm glad that what did happen was not a misdirection. Harold Perrineau deserves awards for performance on this show. Perrineau and Elizabeth Saunders as Donna have great working chemistry, but then again, I can make a statement about most of the characters who interact together. Finally, I had the feeling, as I alluded to during each episode from, that it felt like it was occurring in real time, even though it wasn't. It took me 10 weeks to watch the show, but it only felt like maybe 1 to 2 weeks passed in terms of the time passed in the show itself, right? This episode was a 10 out of 10. From has been renewed for a 3rd season. Sometimes it feels like it's not a lot of us are watching this masterpiece, and given everything that's being canceled left and right, Most of which seem to have high ratings. I was somewhat surprised, but happy surprised. I'll see you all in season 3. Thanks for watching my video. Smash the like button if you liked it. Hit dislike if you didn't. Comment down below if you have questions for me about this video. Please share the video if you found it worthwhile. I'm Matt. This has been an episode of Unbearable 73. Have a nice day, and I am out of here.